Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card. So this is the second in what may become a series. It sort of depends on how the collective is working with this and whether it's working for you and whether you're enjoying them. So I'll probably do a few of them and sort of then make an assessment on how they're received and whether they're helpful and so forth. But they're a slightly different form of pick a card, which is where you get to ask questions as opposed to me having a theme or a topic or anything like that. So if you saw the first one, you'd be familiar with the format, but just in case you didn't, this came out of a very general reading I did where at the end I had a couple of questions and I said, think of your question, and then I shuffled and drew out some cards that gave some yes, no, timing and kind of wild card energy. And I thought this could actually work as a almost choose your own adventure, choose your own question type of set of readings that I could do semi-regularly. So that if you have particular questions, and they could be related or they could be quite different, you can tune in and work out which pile you feel drawn to get your answers, and then ask your questions as the reading goes through to connect in with the answers. So there's going to be 3 questions in each. The questions are completely up to you. All I'm going to be doing is talking about the energies that I see, whether it looks like yes, no, or maybe, any timing, anything that tells me anything about where it might be in your life or what it might be about, and how the different things could play out. So there'll be the original yes, no timing answer, there'll be a wild card, there'll be an astrology card, and there will be a tarot card, a tarot advice. And this is part of the design to help you choose which pile you want to go to. Though by all means, if you have more than 3 questions, maybe go to a couple of piles. Just work out beforehand which you feel you're tuned into for which questions, so that you're using your intuition to align it. But part of the thing to help with the intuition is I'm using different decks for the tarot advice bit in each reading. So I felt drawn to using the Magician card from the decks concerned in this one. So I have a feeling there's something about these particular questions which, even if they aren't overtly spiritual or magical, there will be a spiritual or magical element to the answers. So it'll be interesting to see how Spirit wants to talk to you about your questions. But for pile number 1, we have the Magician from the Luminox Tarot. From pile number 2, we have the Magician from the True Black Tarot. And for pile number 3, we have the Magician from the Organic Elements Tarot. So the images may draw you whatever works for you, however many readings you want to go to, that's all completely up to you. But when you do know which piles you want to go to, the timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. Like I said, if you've seen one of these before, you'll be familiar with the format, but just in case you haven't, what I'm doing right now is I am shuffling a deck that will give a kind of a initial yes, no, maybe timing type of answer to your question. So what I'm going to ask, and then we will look at some other cards to sort of flesh that out. So what I'm going to ask you to do right now is think about your question as I'm shuffling. If you need to, pause the video and think about it, and then get it clear in your mind, and then press play again, and then be back with us now as I'm shuffling, because what I'm asking Spirit right now is for the answer to the first question for pile number 1. And Spirit's being a little bit equivocal. It probably depends to some degree on you. You've got the card relating to temperance. So this is about balance. I think this is about you bringing things into balance. So if you're asking for a yes, no, or maybe, I'd say it's kind of in a maybe. It says undecided. There are other factors, and I feel like there could be some external factors associated with this. There is you bringing things into balance. But I think when it's not maybe, it's undecided, I feel like there are other things that impinge on what the answer to this is going to be. In terms of timing, Sagittarius season could be key. So this could be near the end of the year, around Christmas, before something is clear, or that might be close depending on when you're seeing this reading, but that there could be something about that. Sagittarius also suggests to me there's something about philosophical freedom that's important here, like what gives you a sense of freedom. So there isn't a set yes or no. This does seem to have something to do with ambition, passion, those sort of elements, the fire elements, but it is about bringing things into balance. So I think Spirit could be saying, you may not even know whether you wanted this to be yes or no, to be frank. So it may be that to try and work that out, what would be the most balanced thing for you? Let's see what the wild card is. That might help us get a bit more of an idea of where it might be tilting to in that balance. Self-care. Do things to preserve or improve your mental or physical health. Okay. There's something about this question that probably is quite emotionally demanding, or it could be physically demanding in some way. This is definitely saying don't make a decision until you feel ready to make a decision. So I think there's external factors, they're impacting you, but you need to get that freedom of thought, and self-care is important. You need to put yourself first here. If some of this you're putting other people first, that's a beautiful and lovely part of your nature, but it's not going to really help in this situation. That there's a lot of demands on you, I think, around this. So it's what do you need to be able to make the right decision? Let's get some astrological support for you. Waning gibbous moon. So the waning gibbous moon is about synthesizing and integrating lessons. So there's something all about this. This is the point. I think there's been things in contention, things out of balance, and I think you have probably put other people's needs first. There's something about learning the lessons of that so that you can move from being undecided to knowing what you want. Then I think there is a promise within this that you can make that answer whichever you want, but you can't do it until you synthesize and integrate the lessons that are telling you why you need the self-care. So let's use the tarot, and I shuffled the Magician card back in case it's part of the advice, to ask for a card for advice for you with this question, pile number 1. 6 of Swords. Yeah, this is all about finding peace. There is something in this question, as I say, external factors included, I think, that are not in balance, or you have been feeling out of balance. There are, however, through going through a process of finding peace of mind and giving yourself time out and self-care, you're going to integrate the lessons so you can make the decision. I think this is firmly saying in the end, you will decide, but you can't decide till you've done this. But once you have done that, you will be confident in how you're moving forward. So it may be that it's been something very difficult, but do the healing, integrate the lessons, then you're going to be happier with whatever the outcome is. Okay, so that's question number 1. Pile number 1. Now think about question number 2. Pause again if you need to, but I'm shuffling now for the answer to the second question for pile number 2. And we get, yes, energy, the Knight of Wands. Time is moving quickly. So these could be related. It could be saying before you can actually move, take action, put your energy into something, you've got to sort this bit out, but then you've got the clarity. But they don't have to be related. Either way, however, whatever this one is, there is a very strong yes answer to your question, and time is moving quickly. If yes is what you want, grab onto that energy and work with it. If no was what you wanted, then it may be thinking about slowing things down and preserving your energy and trying to work out what to do. The Knight of Wands, like the Knight of Swords, can sometimes rush in before thinking things through. So certainly if yes was not the answer you want, all of these things you can influence it by thinking about the messages. Then think about slowing it down and working out what direction you actually want to go in. But if you did want a yes, then time is of the essence, I would say. Let's get you a wild card for that question. Gamble. That's interesting. I think this came up in another reading that I did of this type that we'll have published earlier, and I think it came up with similar sort of speed energy. I'm not sure that it came up with this card. But this is saying that there is something around this that is a bit risky, but it is saying yes to whatever your question was, but you are going to need to take a little bit of a gamble with this. Or understand, if you were wanting a no, it's another reason to slow down because there's something risky in this situation. Let's get you a astrology card. Sextile. Whatever this is going to be easier than you think. So that's a positive. But it could also be too easy. This is the thing. It depends very much on whether this is something you want. If it's something you want, it's a good risk to take. It's going to be easier than you think. If it's something you don't want, you really need to slow it down because it's too easily to move into what will be hard to keep control of. We will have a look at the planets, but first of all, I just want to get you the tarot piece of advice. Nine of Swords reversed. Think about what will make you feel less anxious. That's the key in all of this. If you are taking a risk, then make it a calculated risk so that you don't feel too anxious. I'm just going to deal out till I get planets for the sextile. So I'll just shuffle a couple of times and then deal out to get the planets just to see if we get any more information from that. Mars. Yes, definitely about action, ambition, passion, the sort of like divine masculine energy, and the moon, what you feel intuitively. So your intuition is going to give you the answer to this. If your intuition said you wanted that to be no, slow everything down. It's too much of a risk. You don't need that. You don't need the hassle, to be honest. If you wanted yes, your intuition is right. Move forward, but make a calculated risk around it all, and it should work out well. Okay. And now we're going to move to the third question. So again, pause if you need to. Otherwise, please concentrate on your third question now. And we get the star. Yes, faith. So that's a lovely yes. Aquarius season could be important around this, sort of, so the early part of the year could be important, or it could be sort of expansive, almost technological or spiritual ideas could be important, certainly again with faith or the star. But this is again a yes. If you were wanting a no, it maybe go back to what you have faith in and think through things in a more transpersonal, sort of like almost impersonal way to shift the energy. But I think for most of you, this feels like something you would probably have hoped for, wished for, or a direction you want to go in, and the answer is yes. So let's see what the wild card is for you. Compass. What direction are you going? Is this where you want to go? Following your North Star. So certainly, as I say, if this yes was what you wanted, it's a very big thing. Yes, you are on the right track. You're following your North Star. If you had wanted no, then this is step back, get impersonal about it. Look at the bigger picture. It will help you re-navigate. Okay, astrology for this question. Gemini. So communication, balancing duality. Sometimes you might have been kind of on the fence on this, and it might be that this is, the compass is what you need to work out and making a choice between two things. It could also be around communication with others, how you communicate with others and in what way. And also maybe having a bit of fun with this, like feeling, yeah, you're on an adventure with the compass, not that everything has to be too earnest and so forth. And then let's finish off with a piece of advice from the tarot. Six of Cups. Okay, this direction came from you very young. This is part of your life path. If you had wanted no, it's because you know that right from when you were young that there was a different path for you, and you can course correct. And maybe you have to wear a couple of masks to be able to do that, but that's okay. There's something nostalgic. There's something kind of very beautiful around that energy, and that's part of what will be the navigation for you in answering this question. So, pile one, I hope that those were illuminating answers to your question. As I said, that because we had the Magician card, I feel there's something a bit magical, and I think it's really interesting that we finished with the star and with faith. So really do trust your intuition on all of this, with the moon coming up and so forth. But there's something very beautiful in your pathway that you had since you were young that you're meant to achieve, and I think maybe all the questions kind of come together in some way to help achieve that. So I hope that resonated. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments about this and or whether you like this sort of format, I'd love to hear, because as I say, I'm going to do a few of them and then sort of see how they're received. But for the moment, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. So if you're familiar with the format, you'll know that we're just going to one by one go through 3 questions, hence why you've got this sort of blank canvas to start with. If you're not familiar, what I would ask you to do right now is I'm starting to shuffle to get the answer to the first question. So please have that first question in your mind clearly. If you need to pause the video, that's fine, do that. And when you then have it clearly, press play again, because right now we're asking Spirit for the answer to pile 2's first question. And this is the Devil card, and the answer is no. So what I find interesting about this deck is that looks to me almost like it's about love or connection. It's interesting, and sometimes the way that they're portrayed in this is very, very unique and very quirky. I would say there is something about the material world here, or potentially around obsessions, given that's the Devil card, or around temptation. And what I think it is saying is that whatever you're asking at the moment would kind of solidify something that is not a good direction for you right now. So if you are hoping for a yes, it might be thinking about how to get to yes without sort of solidifying a kind of being entrapped by whatever the thing is. This is about a relationship. It may be that the reality in this relationship is it would be a little bit too obsessive or a little bit too dominating for you. So it just depends on what you're asking. With no, you can potentially move to yes, but you have to think about the implications of it when that is the case and what you would need to do different energetically. Okay, let's get a wild card in this situation. Dream, communicate with subconscious, imagine possible futures. All right, so there might be something very spiritual, very magical about this, around this energy. It may feel like a soul relationship, but if you're asking about that, there's still some risks associated with it. You need to be very clear, the very least clear about what your dream is. It may also be that it is saying if you felt that you were entrapped by something, no, you can escape and you can dream up a new world. Capricorn season is going to be important one way or the other, so that's near the beginning of the year. So, or Capricorn as a sign could be important. Let's have a look at some astrology. Sextile. Whatever this is, whether you need to break away from something or whether you need to find a way to make it work rather than entrap you and take it closer to your dreams, it is going to be easier than you think, but you need to recognize the risk. I think that's the clear message here. We will have a look at the planets, but let's first of all get you a card from True Black as a little bit more information or advice. The Three of Cups. I do think for most of you this is about relationship in one way or the other. What that is saying is that if you are asking about a relationship right now, it might not be the right one, but dream what you want. You'll bring in the celebration and the love you want. If you're asking about friendships, then you can find the right friendships. If you're asking about whether to leave a relationship, potentially that you feel too drawn into, and the answer is no, then dreaming up what you want, you can actually get to celebration more. This is certainly a sense of celebration and camaraderie. So whatever the difficulty is here, if no is a difficult answer, it's going to be easier to resolve than you think. I'm just going to shuffle and then deal out till we see what planets are involved in making this more easy than it would otherwise have been for you. Venus, I do think it's about love. I think if it's not love, then it's about relationship matters in some form or another. And the Sun, yeah, relationship and what your life path is. Is this a clear one? Now, I do think, I have to say, if you're asking about a particular person, is this your divine counterpart? My guess is no, but one can come in. If you're asking, am I too obsessed with someone? It might be no, because it is the one you're meant to do, and it'll get more easeful. So it sort of depends. If you're not asking about love, then there's something about what you think is beautiful in the world along with your life path, which you will have cause to celebrate. But there's something like there's a no energy, where you have to re-dream it up again. Okay, pole 2. Now we're going to move to the second question. So again, if you need to pause the video, by all means do. But have your second question clear in your mind as we ask Spirit for the answer for question number 2 for pole 2. Okay, we're going to need to have more than one card here because it's not. The first thing it wants to say is this connects with your inner child somehow. So this is something very deep, something that's probably been with you since you were very young. Even if it doesn't seem manifestly like that right now in the question, there's something that your inner child would have a viewpoint on this, something to do with either wonderful things or things you need to heal from your very young days. Let's see if we'll get the answer now. Oh, and hope. Okay, so this is a very delicate situation, this one. It is certainly saying your inner child always has hope, and that's a beautiful thing, but I think this is very precious, whatever this question is. Let's ask one more time for a definitive answer. Hope is good too. Hope is good. It's not saying this is going to be bad. It's just saying it's very precious to you for some reason. Yes, and then you get the Magician and you can manifest it. Time is running fast, and yes. So there is something that you hope for, And the answer is yes. So the answer is yes to your hope. So if your question was actually almost you wanted a no, I think it's saying the no becomes the yes, in the sense that you can have the answer that you want to this. You have the skills necessary to manifest. You just need to think about it. Time is running fast, so there's an opportunity. But the answer lies, your inner child within can actually give you the answer that you need around this. Let's get a wild card. I mean, that's great. I mean, for something that I think is very precious and deep, you have everything you need at your disposal to make the most of this. The wild card, work, something that takes an effort or employment. So this could be about work, about your vocation, about what you were meant to do. But it could also be saying that there is some work, having started to manifest this, there is some work you need to put into whatever this is. Let's see the astrology energy. The 8th house. Wow, very psychic. And you've got the magician. The magician to me belongs in the 8th house. If this is about psychic abilities, and I did wonder with the magician sort of like being drawn to use the magician as the way to come into these readings. And it came actually from me envisaging the magician card in the True Black deck. So that's interesting. If any of you are asking about spiritual abilities, magical abilities, this is a very big yes, I would say, that you've known since you were young. But it is going to take work, but you're naturally aligned to that. If it's about other things, there could be other people's resources. So if you're looking to manifest a creative thing, then it could be crowdsourcing, Kickstarter, a patron of the arts, something like that. So that could be occurring as well too. Okay, let's get you a True Black advice card. Ace of Swords. Yeah, something new coming through. Very powerful. Number one. And thought. This is a thought. There's something about the way that you think that is quirky, different, or whatever. If you put the work into it and your intuition into it, anything that you wanted as a dream can come true around this. Whatever you really wanted. As I say, if you really wanted that to be no, you can turn it. As a magician, you can turn it. Okay, so pile 2 for the third question. We're going to go into that. So please have that clearly in your mind as I ask Spirit for the answer to pile 3's third question. Pile 2's third question, sorry. The answer is yes again, strength. So whatever this is, you have a strength around it. Leo season could be important. Actually, did we look at the time? Oh, yeah, it was time is running fast. Leo season, so around mid-year, around July, could be very important to this in some way. But certainly you have the strength to do whatever this is, and for the answer to be yes, the passion, the energy, the creativity. Again, if you wanted it to be no, you need to take into account what other advice comes to maybe shift the energy. But at the moment, the answer is moving towards yes for you. And it seems to be something that is in accordance with a strength that you have. Let's get the wild card. And it could be a strength in a relationship. If you're asking about a relationship, it could be, yes, this is a very strong connection. Spring, time or season of growth or development. So if around about the mid-year is spring for you, then there's sort of like a doubling up of that. If not, I think it's saying that around the middle of the year and around spring are both periods that are going to be important to this. And it's a very positive energy. Again, that's would suggest a really good outcome around this. The astrology around it. Third house, something about the way you communicate, something about the way that you get your message out is important. Excellent time if you are looking to take something creative out around either spring or Leo season, maybe in both those times, to get your message out into the world. And then let's get the tarot piece of advice for you. The Devil reversed. So this is going to liberate you in some way. So, okay, so if you had a question that was, can I free myself from something to create what I want, a job that's holding me back, a contract that's holding me back or something, the answer would be yes, liberation is coming. If it was just, I want to develop and do something, then there's something deeply liberating about this once you do it. And it's very interesting because we've got the devil, and I'll get to that in a minute, but And if this is a relationship, I feel like there's something very freeing and balanced and great communication around this. So that is one of its strengths. But I do think it's interesting. We started this whole thing with the three cards with the devil, and now we've got the devil reversed. I think for some of you, there is a connection between these questions, whether it's obvious or not. I feel like something that blocked this energy until you decided what you really loved and cared for and wanted to do and wanted to celebrate and what your dream really was, starts to shift when you put the work into something from very early that you want to manifest, and then you freed yourself. So it could even be as a result of whatever this question is, you could go back and turn that to a yes if that was what you wanted. So, and it is if it is what you want when you've gone through that process. So I hope that resonates, pile 2. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please like the video and subscribe. I would love to know if you are enjoying this sort of format. As I say, I'll do a few of them to sort of see what people think overall, but I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So if you're familiar with this format, you'll know what to do, which is now to start thinking about your first question. If you're not, what happens here is we'll go through 3 questions one at a time. And each time I'll sort of say to you, if you don't know clearly what your question is, pause the video, think about it. And when you have it clear in your mind, press play again and then think about it clearly as I'm shuffling now. Because right now I am shuffling and asking Spirit for the answer to pile 3's first question. And we haven't got a clear answer. We're going to get another card, but this does say that this is something very cherished, something you're very much hoping about, whatever the answer is. And hope itself is a positive sign. Like it's a sign to have hope around this. But let's ask again for clarity on the answer to the question. Yes. This seems to potentially be about ambition in some way. So it could be around work. Certainly, if you are looking at a new job or moving up the ladder or something like that, then it would be saying yes. And the Aries season will be important to this in some way. So around about March, but or that Aries starting something new and initiating something new, potentially creative. Divine masculine energy could be important. If this is asking about a relationship, then the answer would be yes, and that there's a kind of a good balance of power within this and a lot of passion. Okay, let's have a look at a wild card around it for you. Hope again. Things will get better. Like whatever, I think whatever this is, you might have felt blocked. Now, if you did want to know, then hope, and you can shift it around. Like hope, believing in hope is really, really important. But this is something you've wanted for quite a long time. And I think for most of you, a yes answer would be very welcome. Let's get you an astrology card. The 11th house. This could have to do with social media, social networks, friendships, and so forth. If you have met someone through your friendship circle that you are interested in, I think it's a very big sign that it's a great connection. Okay, so let's have a look at, and if it is around work and you're looking for the next step, then it may be through your social or professional networks that you'll get the yes. Let's get a piece of advice from the tarot as well. Knowledge. Okay, so your knowledge of something, your learning in some way will help you. Maybe it helps you have hope because you've seen patterns of this before. Your knowledge of social media may get, or of your industry may move you forward. Your knowledge may be recognized to move you forward, or there could be something about what you know and have learned that brings love in. So it depends on what the question is, but it's a very big yes. Okay, pile 3, let's go to question number 2. We're off to a good start. So think about your second question now, please, as I shuffle. So the answer to your second question is yes again. And this is the Page of Cups, I think. Yeah, so just check the Page of Cups. Sometimes it's not entirely clear with the picture. This is a beautiful deck. I love it. And it's so useful for these sorts of readings, but sometimes I have to check. So this is saying yes, again, to whatever it is. Your empathy, your caring, and your emotional clarity is really important here. Spring season is important to this. It may be that is, if you're asking for something to come in, that's when it's going to come in. Or it could be that spring is somehow, it's like new growth. So something that is new growth is important to this sort of energy. Let's see what the wild card is for you. Collaboration, work with others to reach your goal. So this might be why empathy and connection and emotional connection is important. It looks like maybe by spring there's something that can move forward, or a relationship can move forward, and that sort of energy of collaboration will be very important to getting a good outcome. Let's ask, and if you would hope for a no, it could be that others and collaboration with others can move you towards an outcome that you would want, or soothe any sort of like pain that could be associated with it not being the answer that you wanted. Let's have a look at the astrology. Opposition. So this may be, I think this might be why we've got the empathy and the collaboration. I think there could be something in this where there is somebody, there's an opposing force or an opposing view. What I feel this is saying, however, is that you can come to a balance and come to an understanding. You can actually work better together, but you're different in some way, whether it's in work or love or friendship. We will have a look at the planets, but before we do that, let's get a tarot card to see some advice for you. Seven of Swords, yeah, there's negotiation around this. Now, it is possible. Seven of Swords at its worst can be someone who's not being honest. But I feel in relation to this, that will fall away. I think it's not so much not being honest, it's that something needs to be negotiated for this to come about, whatever it is. You know, whether it's love or a work thing or something like that, something that needs to be balanced and understood and collaborated on rather than competed on. So let's just have a look at the cards around the opposition. So we'll just get two cards to show the planets we're talking about here. Saturn, so powers, things that have been in place for a long time. That's interesting with spring. It could be against old views, old ideas and so forth, old relationships with the new. And the sun, yeah, and what your life path is, which I think is to bring in the new and the new growth. So this is, but it can be collaborated on. I feel like whatever this is, you can find the middle path and make it work. Okay, pile 3, your third question. So if you could focus on that now, we're asking Spirit for the answer to your third question. No. So you got the Hermit. Virgo season is important to this in some way, so around about September, or planning around it and understanding the structure could be important. The Hermit means go within. So if you were looking for a yes, it doesn't necessarily mean that you couldn't get to yes, but you need to go within to look at it. If no was what you wanted, then there is something within that can really solidify and ground what it is that you wanted here. Okay, let's see what the wild card is. Heart, love, courage, bravery. All right. So if this is around love and you're asking about love, it may be saying that for a while, anyway, the answer is no, that you need to go within and find self-love before you can bring love in. But it could be, Virgo therefore could be a timing where if you've done that work, you can actually turn that into a yes. If this is not about love, then there is something about going within your heart and having the courage to stand by what you internally feel and to be able to stand in your own truth, even if that means you're alone for a period of time, that is important. Okay, let's have a look at the astrology energy for this question. Cardinal. Okay, this is the initiator to start something new. I think this is saying that there is a period of time to be on your own or not to take something forward, but eventually there will be the time to take your vision forward and to initiate something. It's just not now. Maybe at or after Virgo season. So let's get you the advice around this from the tarot. The Star reversed. Okay, yeah. There's something, I think there's something that's just not the right time, but it will be the right time later. This is something to do with your North Star and where you're going, and you are meant to initiate something. It's meant to be in your heart, but right now is not the right time. I would look to Virgo season as being a time to revisit the question. So I hope that resonates. I hope that answered your questions and made sense. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear particularly whether this is working for you as a format. I'm going to do a few of them and then sort of see how they're sort of received over time to decide if it becomes a semi-regular thing. But for the moment, I'm just sort of experimenting. So I'd love to hear one way or the other. Beyond that, I hope to see you in future readings.